Hello everyone and welcome back to SAFC Fan TV and what might be the last ever Thursday night live of this season, I think. Joining myself tonight on the panel, we have the man drinking red wine. Jacob, how are you doing?
Sweet Luco wine, as I like to say.
Oh.
Not too bad, mate. Been in from work 20 minutes just in time for the show. Looking forward to a pre-Wembley bonanza on tonight, Jack.
Yeah, of course, you won't have to be making the travel down from the northeast. You're a London man yourself. I understand you were in Trafalgar Square yesterday, Jacob. I just wondering if you had any update on sort of what it was looking like. I know there was a few people seen there was fences up and things like that.
Yes, and this is regarding to, I think, a tweet that A Love Supreme shared with barriers being put around the centre spot of Trafalgar Square the other day. My presumption of this, it was to do with an event that was taking place yesterday evening. I think it was like a protest event regarding human rights or something along those lines, which I'm looking at the photo where the barriers were placed. When I went down there around about 6 o'clock in the evening, I think there was only about 2 barriers still up. So whether they thought it was an event that could have gone out of control and they've decided to take them down because it was a peaceful event, it just could be along the lines of that. But I think we won't know the full detail. Fans start arriving down there because I think they will come prepared knowing the London Met. But I think hearing stuff that's come out today, we should be all okay regards to drinking in the area. I think it's just certain rules in place. Yeah,
I think the Met Police have advised that if you do bring alcohol, you've got to be willing to hand it over. Don't quote us on this. This is just sort of a bit of hearsay. I think it's out there if you want to find the information, but I do believe the advice is something along the lines of street drinking sort of, isn't going to be accepted. And if you ask to hand your drink over, then you should do. Speaking of street drinking, we've got Terry, the mad mistake. Terry, how are you doing?
I'm champion. Isn't street drinking banned in most places anyway?
I think it's illegal.
To be honest.
I think it's illegal. It's just across the country, to be honest. But yeah,
exactly. It's all. I'm fine. I'm just ready to pack my bags and off tomorrow.
Yes. What's your plans then, Terry? You going down on the train tomorrow, I presume? Coming back Sunday, maybe?
Yeah, going down on the train. Come back Sunday. Spot on. Hopefully happy on Sunday.
And hopefully he's a championship club as well. We're also joined by Jack Shields. Jack, how are you doing? You're excited for the weekend in London?
Yeah, I think it's been a long week, hasn't it? I think everyone's just been counting down the days. It feels like it's dragged for me. I think it's just like, I'm ready for it. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited. But I think, the longer this kind of nervous tension builds, you just want to get ready. You just want to play the game, I think, now to a certain extent. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we turn in a good performance. I know everyone's going to be excited for the overall Wembley experience. And yeah, let's see how it goes. I've got a good feeling, but you never know, son, and that's what keeps us all coming back.
Yeah, Jack, you mentioned that sort of good feeling then. I know a lot of people have been saying sort of they're really excited for it, especially on social media. But personally, I haven't really felt much excitement myself. And I don't mean to sort of bring the mood down, but for me, it's sort of going down there. Yeah, it'll be a sort of a nice experience up until the game. But I just sort of feel like if we win, brilliant. I'll be ecstatic, over the moon. Can't wait for the championship. But then again, there's just that sort of question of if we don't win, it is a catastrophic failure once more, and it's another season in League One. Go on, Terry.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think I could take it. If we lost on Saturday, it's not worth bare thinking about. Honest to God, it's not. I just want to win so much.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a case of if we score 2 goals in the first 10 minutes, then I start getting excited. But apart from that, I don't know. For me, there's too much riding on it. It's I think this is probably one of the best chances, if not the best chance we've had of getting promoted from League One since we came down here. One game you've got to beat Wickham. I do think we can do that. But I just feel like that's one of those things where if it goes wrong, it's coming back up from a game when you've had to travel to, you just sort of have bad memories about it. Go on, Jacob.
I think what makes it worse, Jack, is hearing all the pundits this week leading up to the game is they just predict nothing more than a Sunderland win. To be honest, I mean, have they seen our record at Wembley? Come on.
Just quickly go into the live chat, which as always is open. So if you'd like to get yourselves in there, read out as many comments as we can already in there. First and foremost, as always, is Las Palmas, Mackham, David Walker, Mandy Gray, Peter Salkfield, Niall Harrison, Robert Foster, Emma Hansen as well, friend of the show, will be meeting her down there on Friday night as well. Tony Lee, Neil Thompson, Conrad Tank, Colin Major, the Bristolian Mackham, and Tam, all in the live chat as well. Lads, one thing I do want to start off with. So I think it was yesterday we got allocated an extra 2,500 tickets after we sold out. The extra, I think it was 6,000 or 7,000 we got given. I believe that puts us around about 46,000, would it be? Sort of give or take 1 or 2,000, I'm not 100% sure. Jack, I'll start with you. Really, just sort of your general thoughts on that. Do you think there are going to be a lot of empty seats? Do you think we should have been given a few more?
Well, I think I would rather have, obviously, you'd rather have people there than empty seats. I think it was always going to be a case of us needing more. Wickham really, no disrespect to them, but the bottom line is they don't have the fan base that we have. It was always going to be Sunderland dominating. It was just a case of how many would we get. Yes, obviously, obvious answer is I'd rather have Sunderland fans there than empty seats. I think it's a bit of a difficult one, but I've got my tickets up to a certain extent. I was always going to be all right, but I do feel sometimes for people that haven't been able to get one, if there's going to be empty seats there, and there probably will be. So it doesn't look great, but I think what you'll also see, you'll probably see a lot of Sunderland supporters in the Wickham end. I think there'll be odd ones talking about that couldn't get tickets, which raises a bit of a safety issue. I don't know. I don't know whether Wickham have done a purchase history thing, whether that might stop, whether or not you've maybe got to prove it. I don't know. If not, I think
I don't think they did, and I think that's why actually so many Sunderland and Newcastle as well fans have actually managed to get a ticket. I don't think there was anything on the Wickham ticketing sort of system that meant you had to have a purchase history or anything.
Yeah, I think. The only question is, like I say, our proportion, we're going to have, 60, 70, maybe even % more than the crowd. So it's always going to be in our favour. It's just the case of those that missed out. I will feel a little bit disappointment for them because, I mean, if you miss out to another Sunderland fan, you can take that. But missing out on an empty seat, it's ridiculous, really. But I think the organisation on the whole, from the FA and, the whole playoffs, the EFL, if you like, I don't think it's been great as a whole. I think it's been kind of rushed and a bit haphazard the way it's being done.
Yeah, fair enough. Terry, before I go to you, trying to say 125 people watching, 30 likes. So if you haven't already, please do press that thumbs up button and give us a like, see if we can get to 100 before the end of tonight's stream. Terry, I've sort of one thing that's been on my mind as well. So just under 50,000 tickets have been given. I'm sure everyone would agree we could sell sort of an extra at least 5,000-10,000 if they were given. Do you think if Wickham were a bigger club, both clubs would have been allocated more tickets? Do you think if Wickham were a bigger club and let's say they had maybe sort of 35,000 tickets sold by this point, they'd be willing to then give us the extra few spare blocks?
It seems like it was like almost a sellout against Portsmouth in the Checker Trade Trophy final. Seems to be a good crowd at the Charlton one as well. But the reason being they're going to have sort of blocks segregating the two sets of fans. So that's the statement. They're going to, I don't know if it's going to be 2 or 1 block segregating the fans because they don't want to have the fans clashing. That's the reason why I didn't want to give it Sunderland any more tickets. I mean, we've got 46,490, I think it is. If you had another club almost the size of Sunderland playing in the final, say like Sheffield Wednesday, you would only get 40,000, 45,000 each anyway, wouldn't you? Because that's 90,000. It only holds 90,000. Wembley, I think it is. There's 90,000. And how many tickets does Club Wembley get, Jacob? Do you know?
I would say it's more than the usual amount. So probably if we were playing Sheffield in the final, I'd say we would be given maybe 35 to 37 max. And that's for Sheffield as well.
So we're probably getting more allocation that we would have gotten if we were playing a bit against a bigger club. So 46,000, we could have, at the end of the day, we could have gotten more, but it's whether or not they're going to have the stewards, they want to put the stewards there to segregate the fans. I think the fans are going to cause trouble with each other. I think basically it comes down to proportions. They don't want to have the whole of Wembley sort of supported by Sunderland, which will kind of make it a bit more difficult for Wickham in their eyes. That's what I think it is. I think they just don't want to have, say, like 50, 60,000 fans there and only 20,000 fans Wickham's because it gives us a bit of an advantage. I think that's what's going on, to be honest.
That's what I was saying. I think personally, the reason why sort of we haven't been given sort of the empty blocks that Wickham have left because they've not been able to sell those tickets is because I think the EFL don't want to give away too many tickets to Sunderland because they don't want sort of 60,000 Sunderland fans and however many thousand Wickham fans because in their eyes it'll almost create an unfair playing sort of system. That's just sort of my take on it, really. Terry, I think you did a video on this. The EFL did actually sort of point out the fact that they understood there was going to be empty seats in the stadium in their statement, didn't they?
Yeah, they said it's going to be blocks. Said it's not going to look good for the fans who can't get seats, thinking, why can't we not get a seat when there's going to be whole sections, whole blocks completely empty on Saturday? That's the reasoning, is to segregate the fans so the fans don't clash. But for me, the previous reason is the real reason.
I was going to say, surely then in previous years, there has been a case of like Sunderland fans, then the next block over on the halfway line, sort of the next set of fans. Surely that would still be the case.
It did look that way when you seen when you were like sort of checker trade final. That was just constant fans all the way around from one colour to the next colour. So I don't know what sort of stewarding was like in between two sets of fans, or whether that was Club Wembley. I don't know what was in sort of at the very. I mean, like someone said before, you could have had maybe like sort of old age pensioners in that block in between. They're not really going to cause any trouble and fight either, but you don't know who will buy the tickets. That's really impossible to sort of marshal. So this is their reasoning, is to segregate the fans. But the real reason is they don't want to give an unfair advantage to Sunderland, to be honest.
Yeah, just quickly going back to the live chat. Thank you to Marianne and Carl Taylor, who was always tuning in from Boston, Massachusetts. They've donated $5 very kindly and said, hi guys, hope you're all having a fantastic, safe time. I'm so jealous, but I'll be watching. Can't wait. Roar us back to the championship, please. FTM. So thank you to Marianne and Carl for that. Greatly appreciated. Any money that we do make from the super chat does go straight back into running the channel. All the proceeds from there go straight back into sort of improving the content as best we can. Go on, Terry.
Yeah, well, if we've got 46,490 fans, how many Club Wembley fans do you reckon, Jake, we will have? Do you have any idea?
It's because I don't know how many guests that represent Wickham would be invited anyway. I know they probably won't have as much as we have, but it all depends really. I think we'll have a clear view of what it's going to look like on the day, really.
I mean, someone says in the chat 15,000 Club Wembley tickets. I mean, I have no idea what Club Wembley is, what size it is, and how many tickets are available for fans to buy.
Middle tier.
I think Club Wembley is something that was set up where you can basically, I could be wrong, but you can basically buy what's a season ticket, but for like sort of about 10 years or so. But it's not just for any old game. It's like every event at Wembley, you get that seat. So let's say I bought a Club Wembley ticket now. For the next 10 years, I'd be entitled to my ticket for any playoff games, cup finals, like sort of concerts as well. NFL, I think they're at Wembley occasionally as well. So, yeah, is that what it is, Jacob? I think you might know.
Yeah.
So how come people could buy Club Wembley tickets for the Checker Trade Trophy final for say like £500?
Say that again, sorry.
How could individuals then buy Club Wembley tickets?
Well,
I mean, a lot more money.
It could be a case of people who own that box might be away that weekend and they want to like give it out to someone. That'd be the only reason I know.
I was going to say that sort of someone who's got the ticket but doesn't want to go offloading it. I mean, people might even buy it as an investment. I don't know how much it is, but you know, I mean, I would imagine it's quite a lot of money. But you might buy it and then end up being able to sort of actually make money off the back of selling individual tickets if there's a few big boxing fights that sort of weren't anticipated when you bought it, or something like that. Moving on a little bit then. I know this is probably a conversation we've all had many times, whether it be on YouTube or on social media or face-to-face or whatever. Simple question. Is this the best chance we've had to get promoted out of League One since we got promoted from the Championship? Jacob, I can see you nodding your head. Is definite yes?
Absolutely. Oh, just thinking about it all week. Come on, like Saturday, it's got to be, you know, we've got to do it this time. And if we don't, then you can only be down in the dumps about it. But we kick on, we go again, but it would be gut-wrenching to lose such a brilliant opportunity. And I'm just thinking from a Wickham point of view that they could potentially have good moments in the game, but will they be able to cope under pressure with the passion that our fan base will inject being inside that stadium? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Mad Macam on the live chat sort of backing you up a bit there. Jacob says, personally love it when opposition can't fill the seats. Gives us a big moral advantage. Michael Bramley in the live chat says certain fans that weren't behind our team during the season all of a sudden want to cheer us on. Now we're in the playoff final. Well, think that's the case with a lot of people, isn't it, really? Stuart Diggle in the chat as well says there's segregation issues on the concourse, not on the stands, which is a fair point. The way Wembley set up, I think the same concourse is spread out over quite a few entrances and quite a few blocks. So it would then be a case of having to sort of separate concourses, which it might just be, sort of more sort of bother than it's worth. Tam on the live chat says you can resell your ticket through Club Wembley. Steve Flounders on the live chat as well says Terry, Club Wembley, 12,000 seats. You would assume we have taken at least 8,000 of them, circa 53,000 fans. Jack, to you then. Wycombe Wanderers, you've got one game, you've got to beat them. We're going to have much more fans than them there. Is this the best chance we've had to go up?
Yeah, I think so. I think just purely on the fact that we seem to be riding the crest of a wave at the minute, aren't we? We've timed the appointment of Alex Neil's. He's hit the ground running. He seems to know his best team. We're playing good football, scoring a lot of goals, fighting for the cause, forming momentum. I've said it all season. I think the twice we've previously got into the playoffs, we've come on the back of poor runs, and it hasn't helped us at all. So I know Wycombe have been playing well, but I think our form's one of the best in the league, isn't it, over the sort of last 8, 10, 12 games, whatever it is. So, everything's pulling in the right direction. We're going to have more supporters than them. And there's a case of, we have to win in the playoffs at some time. You know what I mean? We can't keep, failing at the final hurdle. And I've got a good feeling about it. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody's got that typical Sunderland mentality, haven't they? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. We're all nervous of that. But no, I've got a good feeling. I think this is the best opportunity we've had. I think on paper, I know football games aren't played on paper, but on paper, we're a better team than Wycombe. I think there's no chance of us bottling it like we're having the previous playoff opportunities where we've just haven't turned up, basically. I don't think Alex Neil will let that happen. I don't think Alex Neil's the type of manager that will really even contemplate that for 1 second. I think he knows, and all the Sunderland fans know, we're going to get 100% out of the team, and I think we're going to it with as big favourites, which would, as Jacob says, make it even more horrible if we didn't get the win. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, obviously the fans will be an advantage. Sort of any sort of atmosphere will swing towards ourselves. For me, I think the only way we don't win this game is if we get quite unlucky. I think potentially if Wycombe were to score a goal in the first 20 minutes, maybe when we were just switched off for a moment, or a decision goes their way, it's a 50-50 and it just gets given to them, and that gives them the advantage. I think then it's going to be quite hard to turn it around. But for me, every other scenario, I see us winning. I know earlier I was saying sort of how I wasn't very, very excited because things can genuinely just go wrong at any point, really. I just feel like we've got more quality than Wycombe have. Don't get me wrong, they've done really well this season. Of course, they were a championship club only last season as well. They have been on a very good run of form, but I feel like the type of side they are, just to sort of grind results out here and there. I think in one moment, one game where you've got to make a count and you've got to break a team down, I don't know sort of how good they're going to be at that. And I think with sort of the more pragmatic and better mindset that Alex Neil's implemented, I just think to be honest, I think we've got more of an advantage now than we would have had under anyone else. Terry, is this our best chance? Is this going to be it then? Are we going to return to the championship?
Well, it's clearly our best chance, isn't it? Let's face it. I mean, we come in unbeaten in 15 games. Alex Neil has a never say die attitude with the players. Seem to be scoring last minute goals for fun. Seem to give 110% for Alex Neil for whatever reason. All the omens and all the stats seem to be going Sunderland's way. For me, the only thing that goes wrong is if someone does an absolute awful challenge in the first 10 minutes, we go down to 10 men. Something like that. Something that you couldn't really predict. Something awful like that. I mean, everything else for us is going in our favour. But Gareth Ainsworth, been there with previous, done it before. The team is a very mature, experienced side, know how to grind out results. I think the size of the pitch and the quality of the pitch will be in our favour for our ballers, for the players that can play the ball on the ground, play better football. I just think there's so many things in our favour. If we don't do it this time, we never will. So I don't want to say, we're going to do it this time, because there's always the ifs and buts that we don't. But I'm more confident in this match than I've ever been in the past so far at Wembley for a long time. But we've got to do it on the day, haven't we? We've got to do it on the day. VAR's installed in the game as well, which is another bonus because we haven't got these rotten League One officials. Because I feel sometimes some of the League One officials just seem to be against us half the time. So we've got proper Premier League officials with VAR there. So, it's going to be probably the best team on the day should actually win the game of football, simple as. So it's down to the players on the pitch to perform for Alex Neil. And let's just hope they just don't bottle it.
Yeah. Alan Robertson on the live chat says, will VAR benefit us? And funny enough, that was the next thing I was going to get onto. I think what you were saying, Terry, as well, with the sort of pitch that Wickham is. Wickham are used to playing at Adams Park, which is a very sort of enclosed ground. And I think they make use of a home advantage, they make the game their own. But with Wembley being neutral venue, but us having the fan advantage, much bigger pitch, like you say, better quality pitch, I feel like it sort of plays into our hands a little bit more. What Wickham like to do is make the pitch theoretically as small as it can be, slow the game down, hold any momentum anyone has. Probably a few little dirty tactics in there as well, sort of, leaving elbows in when you're going over headers and those things, whatever they can do to gain a slight advantage. Whereas with ourselves, as much as I think we've gained a little bit more of a tactical nous under Alex Neil, personally, I think the quality of football we play is just better than Wickham's. And I think at Wembley, that's going to play into our hands. What were you going to say, Terry?
I just feel as well a better quality referee. I think the referee won't be overawed by the occasion. They've been on the big scenes already. They'll know exactly all the dirty tricks in the book, like teams like Wickham. It's what they do best. It's what they do. They get older players to drag them around the floor. I mean, how many times we've seen Ross Stewart being dragged around like a ragdoll this season? Things like that. Grappling in the penalty box, being dragged down the penalty box. That surely has to stop. Even when Wickham scored against us last time, I think Patterson was pushed into the back of the net. I think someone else was fouled. Yeah. So all these things that Wickham do well to their advantage, hopefully won't be allowed to happen on Saturday.
Yeah. Like you say, VAR, Jack, I'll go to you. It's got to benefit us, really, because, they're going to get caught out more than we are, I think, in terms of fouls.
Well, yeah, they're more likely to do the dark arts of the game, aren't they? The little off the ball kicks and the shoving and the nasty stuff than we are. I do think we have one or two players that might have to keep themselves in check. I'm looking at players like Luke O'Nien, who sometimes might get overawed by the crowd. Gooch is another one. Do you know what I mean? We have those type of players ourselves. I don't think we've got as many as Wickham. Don't get me wrong. Wickham seem to have that from 1 to 11. Every player has a bit of needle in them, has the temper and the kind of attitude whereby win at all costs. We're not entirely, like you say, we're getting better at that. But I mean, I don't know whether it's right you don't have VAR the whole League One season, then you have it in the final. I'm not entirely sure on how that works and things. But like I say,
do you not just think that it's sort of that can afford to fork out for that budget, and as well, Wembley's already got the facilities to do that. Whereas to do it across the full League One season, you have to implement it at every stadium across.
I understand logistically and financially why it's like that at Wembley. Wembley has the facilities and obviously the money and everything. But I don't know. You play a whole campaign where you don't have it, and then for the final you do. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's wrong. Like I say, it's just I'm not one of. I think it's a bit. You don't have it for the full season, then the one-off game you have it in, and that could affect the outcome in some way. However, it probably does benefit us, as I say, because Wickham more likely to get a red. Probably, if you look at the betting odds, Wickham are far more likely, I would imagine, than Sunderland to get a red card because that style of play. So yeah, it might help us. I think set pieces and things are another thing, though. Do you know what I mean? You might concede from a set piece whereby, Terry's touched on, the keeper gets thrown on the ground or something like that, or a handball. Do you know what I mean? So you never know. It could end up benefiting us in the long run. But I don't think we shouldn't really need VAR, really. I think if we play football and play to our potential, we don't need any VAR, really. We should be beating Wickham without it.
Well, I'm just more happy about the quality referee. Simple as, because some of the referees for loads of teams in League One are awful. The quality referee and the standards terrible.
Yeah, and also to note was it Craig Taylor? He's one of the assistant referees as well. I'm not sure that means whether you're operating VAR, but he's got Premier League experience as well as Simon Hooper, who's refereeing the game as well.
The referees, the VAR is the Premier League referee. I'm forgetting his name now. Another baldy bloke. 51-year-old from Bolton.
Oh, Adam Kreisel, I think his name is.
No, it's not him.
I think it's just sort of
Lee Mason. I think it's Lee Mason. Is Lee Mason?
Yeah, he's. I think he's a Premier League referee.
Lee Mason's definitely a referee, and he's definitely bald.
Yeah, Lee Mason, VAR. He's in charge of VAR. Lee Mason, that's it.
I mean, I think that's sort of the two things I would sort of decide on, really. You know, are you bald and are you a referee? I think if you can tick those two questions, I would definitely have them.
Wee Philly's got one of them two ticked, doesn't he? Wee Philly's 1 out of 2.
That's a great.
He would certainly give the advantage to us. With his go on.
Sorry, what's your thoughts on the aging team of Wickham on a hot day on a big pitch at Wembley? I know they're fit, but surely the fitter team should be the younger lads, you would have thought. And I think an aging team like 35-year-old Jacobson, 36-year-olds, not so much Stockdale, but you got like 32-year-old Vokes, and you got 1 or 2 sort of really aging players on their side.
Yeah, I think you can look at it that way in terms of them maybe not being quite as fit. But then equally, I think if their fitness was that much of an issue, they wouldn't have had the consistency to finish in the top 6. And I think that the sort of side Wickham are, I think fitness is important because they do go right to the very end. And I think sometimes they sort of try and outrun teams. They're very physical. And I think the most important thing for me with Wickham being a slightly older squad, like you say, was it Joe Jacobson, 35 years old, you said? Yeah. So I think for me, certain situations like that will play into their favour because of the experience. You know, you got to think there's a lot of young lads in our team who wouldn't have ever played in front of a crowd quite like Wembley. In fact, the Stadium of Light is probably a big crowd for their standards and won't have probably played many high-stake games. So personally, I feel like in terms of the age thing, that might actually be a benefit, and I wouldn't be opposed to us fielding a slightly more experienced 11 than we have done lately. Is that good enough for you, Terry?
Well, I think like Barton, likes of Evans, a 31-year-old, there's our 2 most experienced players. I think for me, I favour the sort of the younger side rather than the aging side. I mean, they had a really hard game against MK Dons. I think it was after our game, before our game, wasn't it? Before our game.
Before, yeah.
Aye. But that pitch at MK Dons is a big pitch as well. It's a good football playing pitch, and they struggled in that pitch. They were just defending for their lives the whole of the time.
But I think the difference is because Wickham got the 2-0 advantage from the home leg, they went into that away leg going, all we've got to do is keep it tight for 90 minutes. We can afford to make 1 mistake. We can't afford to make 2. And I think that they made a success. I think their plan was to go there and just concede as few goals as possible.
I think if we take the ball, I think if we're good in possession, you know what I mean? I mean, generally speaking, the team that runs more is the team that's chasing after the ball. I mean, they're not a team that are probably going to press us high, but that they probably will drop off. But that just invites pressure on you. You know what I mean? I think if they do, they've either got, if we keep the ball well, they've either got 2 options that can either try and press us and that'll tie them out early and we'll get them behind, or they drop drop deep, and that invites pressure on with our crowd. Our crowd will be going for it. So if we keep the ball, it spells trouble for them. Do you know what I mean? I think their fitness will come into it. We've probably got more energy, more running later on towards the end of the game as well. So that's the main thing. And stay patient as well. I hope our fans stay patient. Don't get me wrong. We all want to be 3-0 up inside the first half and nice and easy. But realistically, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be a bit of a grinding game, I think, this one. And I think as long as our fans don't panic and start shouting at a misplaced passing and then stay with the team and realise that, you know, we're building into the game, we'll get chances. We will get chances against this Wickham team.
And I think as well, sort of what we're saying the last few months has been that sometimes it does take until 90 plus minutes on the clock to get that winning goal, or even sometimes the first goal. Exactly. And what Wickham want to do, in my opinion, I think what they're going to look to do is they want to have less possession than us. They're going to sort of ideally have us having the ball on the hopes they can either sort of hit us on the counter, or because, and this is genuinely just my opinion, they know that they don't have the same quality as we do within the side, which I think most people would agree with on the whole, and potentially taking to something like penalties, which is more sort of due to your nerve and your character and to an extent luck as well, as opposed to the quality. Jacob, are you wanting him?
I think the main worry people have, Jack, going into Saturday is I think they look back on the previous fixture we had against them in January, the 3-3 draw, but there are 2 differences from that. One was we were playing at their place. They always make it an intimidating atmosphere for any opposition that comes to Adams Park. And secondly, it was under a Lee Johnson team. And Lee Johnson's sides play a lot differently to how Alex Neil sets up, particularly against sides like Wickham. And I just feel under Lee Johnson, it was a case of we'll outscore the opposition, even though we're set up on to be cautious at times. It's just a case of our quality will show more at the other end, and if we concede a few, as long as we get 3 points. But I think Alex Neil, he does take any threat that the opposition has into account, and I think whatever side he'll play on Saturday, I think we'll be able to cope with that very well. I just feel the way how, you know, the defensive structure's set up, the way how Bailey Wright's playing, the way how Danny Bath slotted back in recent weeks and formed an effective centre-back partnership. Corey Evans dropping deep to win second balls. I just feel on a defensive point of view, we shouldn't have much to worry about. The main issue I would say is just try not to concede daft set pieces during the game, because that will work in their favour.
Yeah, but I think Alex Neil sort of knows those types of things, and basically I'm copying exactly what you were saying, but I do think sort of those things, like don't give away any set pieces, because that's their best chance of scoring a goal. Keep your heads, you know, don't get yourselves in any yellow cards to the point where you're sort of playing with half a tackle for the rest of the game. I think he knows these things, and he's going to sort of try and implement them. And as Jack was touching on earlier, if sort of the likes of Gooch and 09, and I think that's probably the main two hotheads we've got on the side, really. But if those players can just sort of keep themselves calm for the game and stick to the rules, which again, I would say Alex Neil's sort of, I think, been good with that, really. I think we've got every chance to go and win it, really. Just quickly going back to the chat, probably Posh has donated £2. So thank you to you. Says donating for the win. And Terry's hair. Terry, there's no hat today. Any reason?
I was having my haircut today, so I'm just showing it off.
Looking beautiful. So, I mean, can't say the same for that one, like. But so thank you for to Proudly Posh for that. Greatly appreciated. Mizu's in the chat as well. Says loving the haircut, Terry. Hope to see you all down at Wembley. I'm heading off from Hebburn at 1 a.m. tomorrow. 11 a.m. tomorrow. It'll be strange he's heading off at 1 in the morning. Says see you all at Trafalgar Square. FTM. This is our season to go up. There's been a few extra faces back in training this week, namely Diaco, who's got himself a new hairdo. He's bleached his hair sort of white. Winchester as well. There's been a lot of photos of Winchester back in training, which we've been told he was actually going to miss the playoffs, or at least it was likely. Broadhead as well was obviously came off the bench against Sheffield Wednesday. Would hope he's had a chance to build up his fitness further. Terry, we'll start with you. A few names that we didn't expect to see. How much of an impact can they have?
Probably nothing. I think it's only Broadhead for me that can impact the game when he comes on as a sub. I think I've heard it's 80% certain to be exactly the same team as it was against Sheffield Wednesday. Apart from he's been tinkering with something. I don't know what he's been tinkering with. I don't know whether it's the formation or whether it's something to do with the game plan. But it's going to be almost the same team as it was in the semi-finals, which I kind of agree with, to be honest. I think Broadhead. If it's not broken, don't try and fix it. I think Broadhead will do well if we need him to come on after 60, 70 minutes. But personally, I would just say it's nice to have Winchester to back, but I don't think he'd be fit enough to be in the team anyway. None of those players. There's nobody on that team apart possibly Broadhead. It's the only player that could really get into the team for me. For me, it's semi-11.
So I think if Broadhead's fit, I will bring him straight in for Clark. I know Clark probably had his best game in a Sunderland shirt in the second leg, which feels like it was ages ago now. I just feel like he's simple as this. I just think he's better than him. I think it's taken Clark for me. He sort of his quality moments are too few and far between. He did well to set Roberts up. Apart from that, he's the two notable moments of the goal against Fleetwood and putting the cross in against Rotherham. But for me, apart from that, I just think his quality moments have been too few and far between to sort of warrant a spot. When you've got someone like Broadhead in who's got sort of a record of getting a goal or an assist in more or less every other game that he plays.
But at the ages of 21, Clark could still be improving and he could be at his peak for Wembley.
Broadhead's a few years older, but he's still not happy.
I've got no problem with Broadhead starting. I'm happy with that 11 and the only other player is Broadhead. Apart from that, I wouldn't start anybody else in the side. I'd be over the moon with 12 start. Might that be a bonus? But, you can't do that.
Philly's in the chat. Says just had his haircut as well. So hopefully his is looking nice and luscious.
Has he been shaving his nostrils? That's what I want to know. It's his nostrils and his ears.
That is not an image anyone wants.
Well, you can tell me when you sit next to him on the train if he's been shaving his nostrils and his ear hair.
I'll inform if he's been clipping his toenails as well. 220 people watching, 72 likes. So if you haven't already, please do press that thumbs up. See if we get 100. before the end of the show. And just a reminder as well, it is free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and you won't miss any of our future streams or videos, which hopefully we should have a few things to bring you over this weekend. More on that later on. Jack, there's a few names sort of back potentially in the running. For me, Winchester's one that I thought Terry didn't mention. Is maybe he someone that you think that can get themselves back in the team?
He could, but I personally wouldn't. I think we've looked pretty good with Gooch in the kind of wing-back role in the last few weeks. So I think I'd probably stick with that. You know, you've got the 3 centre-backs, haven't you? That offers us a bit of protection for the aerial balls. And then you've got Gooch as the right wing-back. So I can't say Winchester's been unfortunate. I don't think he's done anything massively wrong. But the problem is when you're playing well and you're in form, you don't want to get injured or you don't want to get suspended, because if you're out the team, you don't get back in. And it's nothing against Winchester. It's just the fact is we've looked pretty good in the last few weeks as a team, haven't we? You know what I mean? Like the performances, played really, really well in the home leg against Sheffield Wednesday, battered them really, could have won by more. And different performance in the away leg, but really grounded out. And like we touched on it last week, I never really felt threatened by them. And Sheffield Wednesday, one of the better teams in our league, and we really kept them at bay and didn't really concede any chances. So the only one I would personally do is if Broadhead is fit, bring Broadhead back, but I don't think he will. I think it'll be pretty much the same team. But Broadhead off the bench last half an hour, that could be an excellent option. You know what he's like. He's tricky. He gets in behind. His final ball's usually good. His finishing's excellent. You know, ball drops in the 6-yard box and the box. I think Broadhead's probably the best finisher at the club. I'd rather have him on it than Ross Stewart. So I think if a ball drops to Broadhead, 20 minutes to go, he's putting it away. So don't get me wrong, it would have been nice to have Broadhead raring to go and fit, but him as an option off the bench. Wickham, tired Wickham defence, bring him on against a tired Wickham defence. They will not look forward to Broadhead turning them inside out.
And I think as well, even if he starts from, even if he starts from the first minute, that sort of style he's got of just being here, there, and everywhere, picking the ball, his movement's great. It'll tire them out, Jack. I know you were saying sort of if he comes on against tired legs, it'd be really good. But I also think he's got that ability to sort of tire the legs out in the first place. Terry, were you wanting in just before?
Yeah, I'll personally, if it was me, I'd be telling the team, treat this as a home match. Like you do at the Stadium of Light, like the Sheffield Wednesday home match. We're going to have the majority of the fans there, just go into the game and just try and batter them like we did in the first half of Sheffield Wednesday. Take the game to them, simple as, because there's no reason why we cannot do what we did against Sheffield Wednesday in the home game and score more goals.
Yeah. Jacob, so there's a few players back in training. Winchester and Broadhead, probably the two with the most credibility to get in the team. Is there many changes you would say you would make?
Well, to be honest, I would stick with the method what Terry said a few moments ago. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think that's what Alex Neil will do on Saturday. To be honest, I think the team the starting 11 that played in both legs against Sheffield Wednesday, every single one of those players knew their roles fantastically, and they stuck to it, and they gradually improved as the tie went. Like Jack Clark, for example, had a bit of an iffy performance in the first game, but in the second game at Hillsborough, I thought he was tremendous. But I do understand your point, Jack. Nathan Broadhead, as a finisher, to have that from the start, I think is something that needs to be cherished, because I think, on his day, if the ball lands to him in the right area in the box, he's putting that away. But then if that is the option, even though I don't think it will be, Jack Clark coming off the bench, it won't be a bad option. The type of player he is, he likes to use trickery. He does have pace about him. And I think with Wembley's wide pitch with tired legs in the Wickham side, if things are not going for us, I think he'll be perfect coming on against a tired back line that he'll be up against. So my personal opinion is he will stick with the same 11, but if Broadhead was to be starting, it still would be a fantastic thing to see. Winchester, I think he'll be on the bench at least. Diaku, I'm not so sure. I can understand why he's been brought back. He is a player that is got pace on his day that can cause damage to a Wickham back line if they have tired legs. But I think if subs were to come on, if we stick with the same 11, it will be the subs that came on against Sheffield in both games, which will be Matete, Embleton and Broadhead.
I think Embleton's one from there time he's going under the radar. I mean, I think sort of Wembley will suit him. I know he played there last year in the playoff final for Blackpool, wasn't it? But as well, he's just sort of got this innate ability to create something out of nothing, whether it's a shot from the edge or a cross from deep. He's both footed. He's very comfortable and patient on the ball. I think, and I just feel he's been so important in this run-in for me, where he is one of those players I would say you could bring him in and it would be more than acceptable. Or alternatively, if he's there on the bench, definitely bring him on if you need to create that moment of magic. I just feel like with the sort of the size of the pitch with Wembley, with the high stake game, it's going to be one of those where it's just a key moment in the game. I know he's not everyone's biggest fan, but I just feel like with Embleton, he's one of them that maybe goes under the radar but could be huge. Jack, was that you wanting in there, or were you just
No, I want in. I was just thinking like that's where your strength and depth comes into it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, in the least arrogant way possible, Wickham would love for our options, wouldn't they? Do you know what I mean? Wickham's got the first 11 and probably one or two, but we've got pretty much not in Premier League level, but in League One level, we've got pretty much a really strong, deep squad where we have options off the bench. You know what I mean? We have the likes of Broader that we can bring off the bench, or you can think about Patrick Robertson, whether he's going to start and things like that. And that's where you have to maximise the most of your squad, because hopefully not, but it might go in extra time. Do you know what I mean? You might need that impact just to win you the game towards the end. I think that's where our better squad will count in our favour. We have options, whereas Wickham have probably got the starting 11 and they get an injury or something goes wrong in the warm-up or something, and they can try and put square pegs in round holes, but they haven't got as many options as we have. So that should work massively in our favour.
Yeah, we are going to sort of get into exactly how we'd sort of line up. Terry, have you got the whiteboard with us or not?
Yeah, I have, but I mean, what's the point? It's the same size as that.
There's no need for it right now. We'll cover it in just a moment, because I just want to sort of let everyone know that we are planning to do a few more live streams over the weekend. You'll see if you go onto the channel, if you have been pre-prepared. Phil has been very creative with these titles. He's titled these live streams, which we may do Wembley 01, Wembley 02, Wembley 03, Wembley 04, Wembley 05, Wembley 06, Wembley 07,
Blue 09,
Wembley 09, Wembley 10, Wembley 11, and Wembley 12. So over the weekend, we do hopefully be going live a few times. We are going to go to Covent Garden tomorrow, I believe, in the afternoon, then head over to Trafalgar Square on the evening, as well as probably do a few streams on Saturday leading up to the match, and potentially maybe something just after the match or something else. I'm not sure. But I would just say, if you are going to Wembley, maybe keep your eyes peeled on the channel. We'll just be going live sort of as and when, really. Whenever something good happens, maybe tomorrow night we might put the camera on and just sort of say what footage we can get. But I just sort of wanted to put that out there so people knew. And just remind as well that if you do subscribe, you won't miss any of the content that is coming. You can always hit the notification bell, which will notify you as soon as you go live to upload anything. And thank you for 100 likes as well. We have hit 100 likes. Thank you very much for that. Terry, the whiteboard, give us all a treat.
Now, is it a 4-2-3-1 or is it a 3-4-3?
Against the team we had again,
or do we just mix and match? Do we play a right back and a left back, or do we play the two wing backs? What do we do, lads? Do you tell me, or do we do both?
Well, I think over the two semi-final legs, I thought it was four at the back. The one you've got on screen there, Terry. I thought it was that exact lineup. Exactly,
that's the lineup for me. Again, if it's not broken, so don't try and fix it. But like I said, Broader could easily come in for Clark. They're the ages on the park. We've got Bart.
That's what that was. I noticed Stewart 25.
Bart Evans 31. So we got some young squad there, but especially up front with Pritchard, Roberts, Clark, and Stewart. Sort of 25 to 29, peak of the years, and then Clark 21. So for me, it's a good mixture of experience and youth in the side. And like I said, there's no reason why we shouldn't treat this as a home match and really go for Wickham from the start.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a nice balance. But when you put it on screen, there you can see sort of Serkins, the young lad at the back, being 21, right next to two really experienced heads in Wright and Bart. Gooch sort of middle of the road. Evans 31 and 09, 27. That's a nice blend. And then sort of that front four, there was sort of a blend of all ages, really, wasn't there? I know we've just sort of already talked about this, but just so we can kind of get away from it already. Is there any changes we would make, or sort of any other alters in formation or anything? Jack, I would start with you. I mean, we managed to do well over the playoff semi-final legs. Would you change anything going into this?
Not really. I think we've all seen what we can do recently. I think if you start changing people in formation and tactics and putting different people into different roles, that's when you don't get the best out of them. Do you know what I mean? At the minute, it seems like we've got a really efficient team. You know what I mean? Everyone seems to know the role, seems to be able to carry it out to the best of their ability. So I'd be trying to limit as many changes as you can. I mean, you don't know if something pops up in the next couple of days, someone gets it or pulls up in the warm-up or something like that, or do you know what I mean? Or comes off injured, then you'll have to try and rearrange, and that gives you the opportunity then to try and, you know, mix and match. But for the minute, try and keep it as close as to the last few games recently as we can, because everyone's seen how well we can play. Do you know what I mean? I don't see any reason to change it.
Jacob, should we keep it the same going into the final?
Yes.
Oh, a very simple answer, very straightforward. Yeah. Terry, I know you just put that up really.
Like I said before, the only way I see us getting beat on Saturday is if we go down to 10 men. I know we've only had 2 players sent off this season. We've had McGeady got sent off against Rotherham, and we had Embleton got sent off against Gillingham. Was there anybody else that got sent off this season? Was that it?
Did Evans get sent off in a game, or have I just made
No, Evans never got sent off. I'm sure it was only those 2. One was a rash challenge, and I think McGeady's was 2 yellow cards, or was it a rash challenge when he lost his head a little bit? Well, but I think since Alex Neil's come in, he has got them playing with, you know, sort of, they are using the heads a lot more, and we never really, I don't want to say it because I just don't want to say it, but, you know, they just seem to sort of have more control in what we're doing. And like the only player for me that could possibly get sent off, like I said, would be Luke O'Nien or Gooch.
Yeah, McGeady's against Rotherham. I think it was in that period of the game when we just literally we couldn't get a foot on the ball, and they were just sort of on top of us all the time. There was balls going to the box every 2 seconds. They were scoring goals. I think he was already on a yellow when he lashed out and kicked someone. It was really stupid. Embleton's against Gillingham. Was that you going with 2 feet? I think it was. It was just sort of a bit of a bad challenge, I think, wasn't it? Really. I mean, in McGeady's the player you mentioned there, we haven't even mentioned him the entire stream. Does anyone see McGeady have much impact in this game, Jack?
No, not really. I think he's an option off the bench, don't get me wrong. I'll put him on the bench, but hopefully with 2-0 up when we bring him on for a final swan song, that would be the ideal. You know what I mean? 2 or 3-0 up, we just bring him off the bench as a final farewell. I'd hate to think we're relying on him. Not that I don't think he might be able to put a decent ball in or something like that, but I just think he's gone as a player now. Do you know what I mean? I think he's one of them where his mind probably still wants to do it, but maybe his body just can't cope anymore. Do you know what I mean? He might prove me wrong, but maybe name him on the bench, but I don't see him really having much impact.
You mentioned a sort of a final swan song, really. Do you think there's anyone else where if we win or regardless either way, this might be the last game for Sunderland? I mean, I think sort of maybe Gooch and O'Nien are 2 people who've been sort of like 2 of the longest served members of the club now. And I think as much as sort of they're all frustrated at times and the divide opinion, I do think as a fan base, we do sort of have quite a lot of admiration for them on the whole. I just see those 2 as being 2 where if we were to win, Jack, it would be a nice sort of send-off for them.
I think O'Nien will probably stay. I think Gooch has been here a while, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's seen us through the divisions, and I think wouldn't be surprised to see him go. I think it all depends on what league we're in. Do you know what I mean? There's certain players that we've got in the squad that probably would get championship teams. You're looking at Ross Stewart. Do you know what I mean? Even someone like a Pritchard or someone like that, or even the goalkeeper Anthony Patterson might. You know, hopefully not. But that's the worry. The other side is that we haven't even spoken about. You know, how many championship teams will want our players if we aren't in the championship ourselves. There are 3 or 4 that will probably be attracting championship offers. So hopefully not. Do you know what I mean? But I think nothing's really certain until we know which league we're in at the minute. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult to say because we don't know whether we're going to be a championship team or a League One team. But yeah, it's hard to predict.
Yeah, Terry, I know you're wanting in, but just quickly going back to the live chat. Ian Wilkinson was saying must stop balls getting pinged into the box. And there's a few people as well. Kyle Mavin and Steph B both saying Winchester got sent off. Lincoln at home. That was when we lost 3-1, the Chris Maguire hat-trick. So that was Winchester red card as well. Terry, you wanting in?
Yes, none of the players who were starting tomorrow have had a red card this season. But Jack Dodds, if we get promoted on Saturday, big if we get promoted, who would you want to get rid of?
Hang on, 2 moments. I shall make the screen yours, Terry. There we go. I think for myself, looking at that, if we get promoted, I would like to keep Patterson around, but I don't think he'll be number 1. I think even if we stay in League One, I would look at getting someone else. It could be a decent backup in both leagues. Gooch, the Championship, I don't know. I feel like his level is sort of League One. I don't think he's consistent enough. He's your typical League One player for me, where he can play in a few different positions. He's very physical, not sort of got that cutting edge quality or the consistency to make the Championship. Wright and Bart, I think I would definitely both say we're going to take the Championship. Maybe sort of add one or two more names in centre half, but I think I would definitely bring them with us. Serkin, very inconsistent. Don't know. O'Nien, maybe in the Championship, maybe not. Evans, he's grown on us, actually, to be fair. I think Evans is one, the amount of Championship experience he's got, he might be useful. I think Roberts as well. I mean, I think he's one where when he truly gets sort of right up the sharpness in the team that suits him, I think he could be Pritchard and Stewart for me, 100%. Jack Clark, probably not.
It depends what role you would give those players, though. I think there's certain players there that I wouldn't have in my starting 11, but I would probably keep as a squad player. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we go up to the Championship, my opinion, the likes of your Bailey Wright, your Danny Barth, your Corey Evans, to a certain extent, I would like to think we're getting improvements on them as we go up the Championship, but I think them three that I've mentioned, particularly, they're all experienced. They could offer a lot of experience to the younger lads in the Championship, so I think you could keep them. But whether or not you're saying keep them as the starting 11, which I think I'd struggle with the idea of Danny Barth and Bailey Wright in the Championship. I don't think they're personally good enough, but I still think they would have value as a squad player because it's 46, 48 game season, 46 if you add in playoffs and you add in cup games and things like that, you know what I mean? So you have to get the full utility out of the squad. And we are a young squad, so you don't want to get rid of that experience as well. So you've got that. But I'd worry about 3 or 4 of them on Terry's board there in the Championships. I think there's 2 or 3 of them wouldn't quite cut it for me. Like
for me, I think I see Pritchard and Stewart straight away as ones that you could bring to the Championship with, yes, and they could be sort of in your first team. Yeah. The rest of them, I know I made a bit of a meal of that. I think Wright and Bart, like Jack said, Evans potentially as well, good backup options. Maybe Roberts in there as well, but not to be relied on. Everyone else, I think, is probably a maybe. And you're probably sort of looking at them being League One players, really. Philly on the live chat says that we need virtually a whole new team if we go up, and that's sort of something that I've thought for a while. I think we'd need probably a good 10, 15 signings at the very least, I think, if we were to go up. I think, anyone else want to add to that, Jacob? I know you haven't said anything on this.
Yeah, going back to the team, obviously, that Terry has on the whiteboard there. From what's on there, in terms of the players that I don't think will cut it in that league, one, I would say this might be a controversial opinion, but I just feel Luke O'Nien in that division, I think it might be a little bit too much for him. I think we can't afford, if we go up, to fall into the trap of, we're going to rely on players that show commitment and, give 110% for the badge. But we have to ask the question, will they have enough quality to perform on a consistent basis in the Championship? And Luke O'Nien, I don't know, it's a difficult one with him in the Championship. Lyndon Gooch, I completely agree with you, Jack. I think potentially League One, he may have found his level, but I think if he was going to stay, potentially, I think he could be a solid right back in that league. I think he has been playing there mostly for the past few weeks. Was it the running we've had leading up to the playoffs? Other names in it, Clark, I don't think will make the cut. I think we'll potentially look elsewhere. Patrick Roberts, it all depends really on how much is it Man City on loan?
That doggy in the window. Sorry.
It all depends on how much they'll ask for him money
wise. Well, he's not Man City's player anymore.
What's that? He's free agent.
We bought him in January, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, if we show willingness to get him, we can definitely bring him in over the line. But it all depends whether his head could be swayed elsewhere. Yeah. Other names on there. There's a few in the live chat saying that Danny Barth might not make the cut in the Championship, but I heard from Stoke City when they got rid of him that he was one of their standout performers before he left. So he has got experience, to make the cut for that league. I just fear for the likes of, Gooch and O'Nien haven't really got that much experience for that level, and that might let us down. But if buts maybes, I think the big thing over the summer where we'll be all on eggshells is that first meeting, if we do go up, that Alex Neil, if he's going to stay, has with Christian Speakman. Alex Neil could be like, I want this, this, and this. And Christian Speakman could be like, no, I want this, this, and this. And
that was great impressions, Jacob.
yeah, it could all come down to that. But yeah, we'll soon find out more. Let's just get promoted first, mate.
I think on Danny Bart, I don't think we've actually seen his full potential. I've got a mate who's a Stoke fan, and I asked him straight away, sort of, what's this player like? And he said to us straight away, Bart was, in his opinion, and a lot of his mates has backed him as well, and said he was one of the best players in their squad up until January. He couldn't believe why he was going. He almost couldn't come up with a reason as to why Stoke would let him go. And I think sometimes sort of players are just sort of better suited to a different style of division. League One's sort of very physical. Championship sort of is a bit more technical. So maybe that also played into his hands a little bit. I also think there's maybe fitness sort of concerns as well. I know he's picked up a couple of the knocks. And as well, it does take time for players to sort of bed in. So I think Bart might not have seen the best out of him, but with a little bit of time in the Championship, he could come better. However, I would also add to that, I think him and Wright, I would look for them to be more sort of the backup options and add maybe one or two more sort of stronger names into there. Go on, Terry.
Yeah, I want to make a prediction. If Sunderland get promoted, if we get promoted on Saturday, Luke 09 will be a Wycombe Wanderers player next season.
As long as he's not a Sunderland player for going up, that's all I'm bothered about.
I think he's, I think he's sort of.
I think he's suited to that team.
I think him and Gooch have sort of found the level of League One. Don't get us wrong, I love them both. You know, and I really hope they have great careers. Very sort of emotionally attached to them. They've been here a long time. And I really want them to go on and do well. But I think in the Championship, I think for the two of them, it's a step too far. I would absolutely love for us to get promoted, be a part of that team. That'd be their final swan song. They get the playoff winners medal, they get us promoted, and then they go and sign for a League One club. Terry, I think what you're saying about 09 going back to Wycombe, I think that does suit them where they aren't exactly the most technical team in the world, but they're very physical. And I think that's sort of 09 down to a T. As for Gooch, I feel like sort of when he was linked to Shrewsbury, I just thought, you know what? I've never seen a player and a club more perfect fitting than Gooch to Shrewsbury. Just average League One, inconsistent. You know what I mean? Just sort of, I just thought it was perfect, written in the stars. I think it'll end up something like that. As much as I don't really want to sort of see these players go from an emotional point of view, I think sort of I don't think they've got the quality to cut in the Championship. Speaking of predictions, though, shall we all make score predictions? Terry, go on. Score prediction for Saturday.
Do you know what it is? I'm going to do a wee Philly special 3-1.
Very high score.
It's the first time I've agreed with them all season.
Well, I don't think I've ever agreed with them in my life. I think for me, I think it's going to be a very tight game. I think it was either Max Power or Conor McLaughlin were talking about this on a podcast that I did with What the Fault or wrote a report. And they both said that these types of games is just full of players sort of not really wanting to make a mistake, and that's going to be quite, maybe a bit more conservative. I'll go with 1-0 Sunderland. I just think it's going to be both teams are going to be sort of not really wanting to fully commit. Jacob, score prediction for yourself?
Like you said, Jack, tight game, but I'm going to go Sunderland 2-1.
Jack Shields?
I think it'll be tight. I don't think we're going to batter them. I think as long as... I think we'll keep a clean sheet. As long as we don't give any daft, stupid free kicks away in corners, I think we'll keep a clean sheet. But I'm going to agree with you, Jack. I think we'll get a 1 goal, and I think that'll prove to be enough. But I think it'll be edgy. I think we'll have a few edgy moments and maybe a few nervy corners and free kicks coming to our box that all our fans are kind of shrieking with. But I think we'll do...
That's why... Sorry, Jack. That's why in the first half we've got to treat like a home game and really go for the jugular and get a couple of goals. Take the sting out of the game early on. Got to.
Terry. I hope we do go for it, but I don't think we'll get that. I think you know what it'll be like. I think it'll be one of them games we have to grind and see it out. I said earlier, we'd all love to be 3-0 up at half time, and I hope we do go for it, Terry. But
can anybody remember last time Alex Neil managed Norwich when it was in the playoff final? Was it 2-0 against Middlesbrough?
2-0, yeah.
Was it 2-0 early on, or was it 2-0 about half time?
They were 2-0 up after like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quickly going back to the chat before round off. Michael Bowers is in there. Hello to you. Says, doubt he'd be good enough for the Championship 09, at least to start, but don't think he's a bad player by any name, by any means. Sorry. Mad Mackham says Gooch to anywhere. Plank, which is a little bit harsh. Emma Hansen says, well, we'll see you down there, lads. How are the lads? Hashtag Mescal. Philly in the live chat as well says 3-1. Adam Stewart thinks we're going to win 3-0. Kenneth Allen says 3-0 Sunderland win. Mad Mackham 4-2. Loads of goals. Colin Major says, if we don't keep Neil as manager, we will come straight back down next season. Conrad Tank feeling confident says 3-0 to Sunderland. Tam thinks 2-1. Gordon Seymour agreeing with Terry and Felice in 3-1. Astronaut Kaza agrees with me and Jack says tight 1-0. Alan Taylor says 2-0. So there we go. That's it then. We've done the last ever Thursday Night Live before the playoff final. Terry, have you got any pearls of wisdom to give our viewers before we round off tonight?
Don't get drunk on Friday night and save all your energy for the lads on Saturday. Come on.
Jacob, have you got any words you want to, give to everyone watching before we round off?
Yeah, that was a great statement from Terry, but I don't think it will happen. Same as usual, Jack. My famous phrase: keep the faith.
And speaking of famous phrases, Jack Shields got one himself. Jack, are you going to grace us with those beautiful words we love to hear? It's now 2 minutes past 8, but 8 o'clock on a Thursday night.
Well, firstly, don't get yourselves into any trouble. You know what I mean? Like, let's make sure we can all go home in one piece. And sing your hearts out. And I'll see you at Wembley, lads and lasses.
Oh, there we go. A slight little alteration. That's what you get with Jack Shields. You never know what quite to expect. Terry, were you wanting in there, or were you just?
And those famous words by Elvis Presley: "It's now or never." Come on.
Maybe we'll have you sing us out, Terry. But for myself, thank you to everyone for watching. I do hope this is the last time we're doing one of these streams as a third division football club. Let's hope we get the result on Saturday. But everyone has a good trip down to London over the weekend. And if you're not going, I still hope you enjoy the game, which I'm sure we all win if Sunderland. I'm sure we all will if Sunderland do win. 117 likes. Thank you very much to everyone who has left us a like. If you haven't already, please do give us a like. Just a reminder as well, subscribing is free if you haven't done so already. You won't miss any of those streams that we mentioned just beforehand. But from myself, Jack Dodds, from Terry the Mad Mistake, from Jacob Kirkbride, and from Jack Shields, thank you, and we'll see you later. Terry, would you like to sing us out?
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Come on!